Hi, welcome back to Castle Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple pie crust. You will need a bowl, I'm using this one, 2 forks, a tablespoon measuring spoon, a half cup measuring cup, and a teaspoon measuring spoon. For the ingredients, you will need some ice water, some salt, some flour, some sugar, and some butter. This is just 2 sticks of unsalted butter chopped up into cubes. Now, let's start making. So, we're going to take our bowl and we are going to put 2.5 cups of flour into the bowl. So, here's a half cup, 1 cup, 1.5 cups, 2 cups, and finally 2.5 cups. Next, you are going to add a teaspoon of salt, and I like to pour the salt over the sink so I don't get too much salt in the batter or the dough, whatever you're making. Also, you can substitute the unsalted butter for regular salted butter and just use less salt, but I just did it with unsalted butter. Next, we're going to put in a teaspoon of sugar, and now we are going to mix. Just take one of your forks and stir it until it is evenly combined. Now, we are going to take our cubed butter and just put it all in, right into the bowl. Next, you're going to take both your forks and start mashing the butter into the flour. You just want to do this for a while until it's like there's only like pea-sized pieces of butter and it's all kind of mixed into the flour. So, just gonna keep mashing and mashing and mashing. You can use your hands a little bit to break up the butter a bit more because the butter is very hard. You want to keep it chilled so the pie crust stays thick and doesn't just fall apart. Get all of those chunks, and then every once in a while scrape off your fork because there are going to be a ton of pieces stuck to your fork. Just make sure you scrape the sides to get all the flour down, to get it evenly mixed. Just gonna keep squishing with my hands and my fork. Mash, 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 mash. Just keep breaking up all the little chunks of butter to make it smooth. But you don't want to get it to where it's like a dough already. You just want to make it look kind of like a mix, like rocks and dirt or something like that. Also, you can use a pastry cutter instead, but I don't have one of those yet, so I'm just using forks. It's a very simple solution. This does take a while, so you're going to want to set some time aside for this. And just keep mashing and mashing and mashing. And your hands get dirty. Also, you want to do this over a piece of parchment paper like I did, just so it doesn't get your counter or your surface messy. And you're also going to need it to roll out the dough later. You can just use your counter and put a little flour on it so it doesn't stick if you don't have parchment paper, but I find parchment paper is a lot easier to just clean up and stuff. So yeah, we're getting closer now. So we have some butter chunks, some small butter chunks, and you just want to dig into the sides too to make sure there's no flour that's just left out. Just keep doing this for like 10 to 15 minutes until you get all your butter into small chunks. Also, you want to make sure to dig down way to the bottom, because if you have any flour chunks up, it'll turn parts of your dough, into these liquidy parts, because when you bake the pie dough, and if you're baking a pie, if you bake the pie dough, you'll just have these buttery sections that aren't even dough anymore because they're just so liquidy as the butter melts in the oven. So now we're actually getting really close to what we need. It's just this like chunky flour mixture basically. And sorry about the background noise. I have kittens that love to eat everything basically. And they have this one wrinkly toy that is so crazy. And it's just like crunch, 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 crunch. Okay, so as we've dug down to the bottom, you can see there are all these big chunks left, and you just want to break them up and keep mashing with the fork. Also, you can skip this part because it's just me mashing stuff. Okay, we're getting super duper close now. Only a few more mashes and then the start of our dough should be ready. Okay, it's getting really, really tiny chunks. Oh goodness, my bowl's sliding. And you don't have to use this dough just for pie. You can make little tarts too. I love little fruit tarts with like pudding fillings and stuff. But this is just a basic dough recipe that comes out super delicious and flaky and yeah, just absolutely perfect. I also have a dog who's whining behind the door right now. I locked him out so I could film without him barking at me. Okay, this is looking super close. So the next step is going to be to add your ice water. You're going to need 4 tablespoons of your ice water. This is just to help, that's just to help the dough come together and be like actual dough. And only a few more mixes just to make sure we don't have any big chunks like this guy at the bottom. Make sure you're mixing toward you too, because if you don't mix back here, you often miss a lot of stuff. Like there's some extra flour down there because it's close to me, and I just missed it. So now you just gotta keep mixing and mixing and mixing until finally you get something that looks kind of like this, with all these small chunks. And you just want to make sure to break up all the flour chunks too, because sometimes those can be confusing. Like this, this is just only flour, so you just got to break that up. And then I'm going to, so this looks close enough to where we want to be. Just see how it's all chunks and there aren't any huge globs like before. That's like right where we want to be. So, and you don't want to make it too small, otherwise it won't cook correctly. I'm going to wash my hands real quick and then come back for the next step. So now what we're going to do is take our ice water and just put 4 tablespoons into the dough. So you don't have to use like super cold water. It's just basically all you have to do is put some ice cubes in some sink water or something. Or you can just get water straight from your refrigerator. So 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, 4 tablespoons, and I just like to add just a little bit extra, and you may need more. You can add as much more up to another 4 tablespoons if needed, but you want to mix this all around first and make sure you really need them, otherwise your dough is so liquidy and it happens on accident. But you just want to start forming this big chunk and mix it all up. I think I'm going to need a little bit more water, but we want to mix all this flour in first. And when you add extra water, you want to start in slowly, otherwise you will start having that liquid-y mess. And if you accidentally make like a liquidy mess, all you have to do is add a little bit more of the other ingredients. So if you get like a super liquidy dough, all you have to do is add like an extra tablespoon of flour, a pinch of sugar, and a pinch of salt. You may not need the extra salt because it can be kind of salty already, but I like to add it just to balance out all the ingredients. So I'm gonna add another tablespoon of salt. Sorry, yeah, don't listen to that. I'm gonna add another tablespoon of water just to make it form better, because mine is still crumbly and stuff. Just gonna mix it all up. Now, you see it's forming into this big ball, but it's still kind of crumbly. So I think I'm gonna need another extra tablespoon, but just gotta make sure first. It's coming together really well, which is exactly what you want, but it's still kind of crumbly, like pieces are falling off when you try to squeeze it into this ball. So and I'm making a mess everywhere, like there's flour behind the bowl and stuff. That's why you want to use parchment paper. It makes the mess so much easier to clean up. All you have to do is scoop it off. So I'm gonna add another about 3/4 tablespoon to this, and then this should be good. We don't want to overdo it, otherwise it will be a total mess. Keep squishing and squashing, making sure it's not super crumbly, but it's not super liquidy either. I think I'm gonna need about a teaspoon more water. So I'm just gonna do a tiny portion of this tablespoon right here. Sorry, my cat got up on the counter. They are very naughty sometimes. So this is looking like this is gonna be just enough water. So I'm gonna take it out of the bowl now, and I'm gonna place it on my parchment paper. And I'm just gonna make sure I get all the crumbs and stuff from the bowl, because those are all super important too. And then we just wanna keep kneading it until it's like not super cracky like this is. And you don't want to overwork this because it'll get super stiff and you won't be able to roll it out. So you want to work it just to where it's super nice and squishy and it's not super cracked. Just about like this. Maybe a couple more needs. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna get these extra crumbs off, and you can just throw them down in your sink. And I'm gonna wash my hands, and I'll meet you back with the next step. So now it's time for our final step. You are going to take some cling wrap or just some clear plastic wrap like this. And you are going to split the dough in two and wrap it in this cling wrap. So I'm just gonna use one of my old forks and split the dough in two. And you can just roll it into a ball again. You don't have to, it just makes it more compact. And then you're just gonna take the cling wrap and just roll it up in it like this. And then you are gonna set it in your fridge for 1 hour. If you don't do this step, it will not cook. This step is really important. It has to chill. Otherwise you get just a total mess, and it's not worth skipping this step at all. Now I'm going to do this other piece right there. Just get another strip of cling wrap and roll it up and place it in my fridge. the reason you want to do this is to make the dough firm. And if it's not firm, it won't roll and it just doesn't cook. So that step is super important. After it has chilled for an hour, you can leave it in for more, but just at least an hour. After it has chilled for an hour, you can roll it out and make it into a pie crust. You can make it into a tart, whatever you want. And then follow the directions of whatever recipe you're using to cook it. Or if you don't have a recipe, just cook it at 350 until it's golden brown. And make sure to watch it. Only do start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but just keep watching it, okay? Thank you for watching. Bye.